Okay, so you've chosen to make a nameplate. So step one, like any new Illustrator project, is to start a new file and define the properties of a new workspace. So over here are the details of my workspace. So I'm going to give it a nameplate, and make sure that your units are set to millimeters. And then you can decide on how big you want the workspace to be. The nameplate template that we're going to use is 180 millimeters long by 60 millimeters wide. So I think if you make a 200 by 200 millimeter workspace, there'll be lots of room to play around with there. And you also want to make sure that you set your color settings to CMYK, because that's the color the color combination we use in the large format printer, not RGB. And then you click create, and you've got your workspace. So next step is to add your name using the text tool. So I'm just going to say Mr. Phil. And of course, this is way too small, so we need to make it bigger. There's a couple of ways to do that. One way is to go up here and get the selection tool, which you can also toggle to by clicking V on your keyboard. And now you can drag the corner. Now, if I drag the corner wrong, I'm going to change the proportions. So the way to make sure that you don't do that is to hold down the Shift key first, then click your keypad. Then you can drag out the size of the shape, let go of the keypad, and let go of the Shift key, and you'll have a larger piece of text to work with. Alternatively, over here in your Properties panel, you can just put in the font size you would like, which is what I would recommend you do, so that you end up with a nice sort of round number that's easy to replicate. Okay, let's talk fonts. I've actually been playing around with this for a while and had to restart this video a few times while I figured it out. So over here are your fonts. The first time you click on this, you should get a blue button saying that your account gives you access to Adobe's fonts, and make sure you click the OK or the Access button on that. So in the font dialog box here, you've got a number of options. Your filter is your friend. So if you click on the filter, you can automatically filter by category. So let's just say, for example, that I've decided I want to go with a decorative font. Okay. And I'm just going to turn off heavyweight there. You can also add more properties. Like you'll see I had heavyweight toggled there, but there weren't very many fonts which were heavyweight. So I'm just going to go with decorative fonts right now. And you'll see there's some pretty cool fonts, but not a lot of them. So the next step is to go to Find More. And under Find More, what your program will do is it will go and it will look for all the fonts that Adobe has got available for you online. So actually I quite like this one. So if I click on that one, and now you'll notice it says when I click on it that I have to activate it. That means I need to download it. And you can see there's a little download button over here. So I'm going to click the download, and it'll take a minute to download. But once it's finished downloading, then I should be able to use this font. I'm just going to go and pause while we wait for the download to... Okay, we're back. So my font has now downloaded. And you can see here under Find More, when I scroll down to... which one was it? I think it was that one. You can see there's a little X for deactivating it. So if I click on that, I now have my Mr. Phil font. Okay, and if I click on the screen once, it'll deselect it. Okay, so now in order to play around with this, I need to change this from a font into vector shapes, vector graphics. That means that I needed the computer to start thinking of each of these as a separate shape. So the way to do that is to select this, and then go up to your just give me a second here, we'll drag this down. Go up to your object drop-down menu, and hang on a second, we want to go to type. Sorry, you go to type and create outlines. And if you zoom right in, you can see that it's actually drawn outlines around that now. Now, the second step is you want to then go ungroup. And what you'll notice is now your name has actually become a series of separate letters. This gives you much more creative freedom with what you do with them. So you can, the simple thing to do would be to go to each letter, and you can now change the fill color of each letter. Let's select that one. We can maybe go, let's do some analogous colors here. Okay, and we'll go that one, or we'll go a little bit further over. Okay, so you can do that, but what I want you to play around with, if I go to this H, actually let's go to the I, and let's make the inside transparent, and we will give it a little bit of a line so I can still see it. If you right-click on this letter, you have access to something called Generative Shape Fill Beta. Now, I want you to play around with this because I'm still trying to figure it all out. But this lets you fill the shape with a prompt. So let's go summer flowers in a meadow. And so then Adobe Illustrator will look at the prompt, and it will use AI to come up with some possibilities. And then you can pick the one that you think best fits. So here's an opportunity for you. You've got a list of the different, oh, interesting. Let's try this again. Generative Shape Fill Beta, summer flowers in a meadow. Let's just pause this while I figure this out. Okay, so we're back. So I took out the word meadow, and I did get some summer flowers. I'm not super happy with that. There are some other things you can do with the generative shape fill, which I will maybe do a second video on once we've played around with it a bit. Okay, so the other thing you can do, now that these are separate shapes, is this is the general selection tool. You can also use the direct selection tool to have more control over the actual shapes. You can see there's all these different nodes here now, and I can actually use these nodes to change the shape of my letters. So I could, for example, maybe I want to have it kind of look like it's flowing out of the R there more, right? And the H here, maybe I can have it kind of flowing more from over here. That probably is going to go down. I'm not sure what that was, right? So you can use the direct selection tool after you've converted the text to shapes. You can actually use it to give you these different nodes that you can use to change the shape of the vector graphic. Now, if I zoom in here, actually, let's go back over to here. And I'm going to click on here. If I click on here, the other thing you'll notice is each of these nodes has got handles. And so the handles allow me to actually play around with the curvature of the shape. So what I could do, for example, let's see if I can get this to curve in a little bit so it kind of matches a bit more the shape of that R. So I can do something like that. So by using the handles and dragging the nodes, I can kind of make the curve of this P match the curve of that R a bit more, right? So it looks like they fit together. So the direct selection tool, moving nodes and playing with handles is a really good way to kind of play around with each of the different letter shapes. Okay, so let's say this isn't great. Let's say this is the what I want my letters to look like. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just group all of this. Oh, interesting. I wonder if we have to ungroup it first. Okay, we're not going to bother with grouping it. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go File, Open, And I'm going to go and open the template. So this is the actual, going to be the actual shape of your nameplate. And so what you want to do is copy this and paste it in here and move it down in here. And you're going to want to hold shift. And now this is going to be interesting. I think we might pause while I figure this out. Okay, we're back. So right now we have the direct selection tool selected. If we go back to the selection tool, we'll just get a box around the whole thing. And so now we can move it. So I'm using 2 fingers on my trackpad to pan back and forth. I'm just clicking on the shape here and moving it in here. So now if I hold down Shift key, click and drag, I can resize this so it fits here. Okay. Now over here in layers, you can see all of the different parts of the shapes here. Okay, so for the final part of this tutorial, I'm just going to show you a few things to play around with. So what you might want to do is you might want to put something in the background of this shape behind your name. For my purposes, and it certainly is not my best design decision, I have gone and I've downloaded from Google Images this image of flowers, and I've increased the size a bit. And so what I'm going to try and do is put that into this shape. So the first thing I'm going to do is, I just want to show you what I did to make my life a little bit easier. Is I put it into the second, it's called an artboard over here. So that way I'm not cluttering up my workspace. I've kind of got a secondary space where I can put things. So I'm actually going to drag this shape over here. And in order for me to clip this image into this shape has to be in front. So I'm going to right click, go to arrange, and go bring to front. And I can tell it's now in front because it is that white color. And so all I have to do now is select both shapes, right click, and I can make this a clipping mask. And I automatically get my flowers inside there. And so now what I can do is I can drag this back here. And you can see the pink lines in here helping me line everything up. These are actually called smart guides. And so if you don't see them, make sure you go to view and turn them on. And now I'm going to go arrange, and I'm going to send this to the back. And so now I can see my name is on top there. So I can't really see my name very well. So the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to properties, and I'm going to change the opacity here. So maybe I'll make that just like 20%. And now I've put it in a back. Alternatively, instead of using a clipping mask and an image, you could also use the generative fill and AI to fill that in. So I'm going to stop there, and I leave it up to you to show me what you can do